When we think of World War II, images of grand battles, famous generals, and world leaders often come to mind. We remember the storming of Normandy's beaches, the strategic genius of figures like Eisenhower, and the resolute leadership of Churchill. These are the pillars of the story we've been told. But history is a vast and intricate tapestry, woven with countless threads. And today, we're going to pull on some of those threads that are often overlooked. We're going to talk about the forgotten heroes of World War II, the men and women whose incredible courage and sacrifice shaped the course of the war in ways you might never have imagined. Let's start with a name you probably haven't heard, Witold Pilecki. A Polish cavalry officer, Pilecki did something so audacious it sounds like fiction. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. In 1940, with the horrors of Auschwitz just beginning to unfold, he volunteered for a mission that no one else would dare. He intentionally got himself arrested and sent into Auschwitz. His goal: to gather intelligence from inside the belly of the beast, organize a resistance movement among the prisoners, and report on the atrocities to the Allied powers. For nearly 3 years, Pilecki survived the unimaginable hell of the camp, all while building an underground network and smuggling out detailed reports. His dispatches were among the very first eyewitness accounts of the Holocaust. He eventually escaped in 1943, hoping to convince the Polish Home Army to liberate the camp. While that mission wasn't successful, his bravery provided the world with undeniable proof of the Nazi regime's systematic extermination. Pilecki's story is a staggering testament to the power of one person's will to expose evil, even at the cost of his own freedom and safety. Now, let's turn our attention from the camps of Europe to the skies over the Pacific. Meet the Women Air Force Service Pilots, or WASP. In an era when women were largely confined to roles on the home front, over 1,000 American women stepped up to fly military aircraft. They weren't combat pilots, but their job was no less dangerous. They ferried new planes from factories to military bases, towed targets for live anti-aircraft gunnery practice, and test flew repaired aircraft to ensure they were safe for male pilots to take back into combat. They flew every type of plane in the U.S. arsenal, from the nimble P-51 Mustang to the colossal B-29 Super Fortress. 38 of these women lost their lives in service to their country. Yet, for decades, they were denied military status and benefits. They were considered civilians, their contributions largely erased from the official narrative of the war. It wasn't until 1977 that they were finally granted veteran status, and not until 2010 that they were awarded the Congressional Gold Medal. The WASP pilots shattered stereotypes and proved that courage has no gender, paving the way for future generations of women in the military. The fight for freedom also took place in the shadows, through acts of quiet defiance and brilliant intellect. Let's talk about the Navajo Code Talkers. Early in the Pacific War, the Japanese had become terrifyingly adept at breaking every code the U.S. military used. A solution was needed, and it came from an unexpected source: the Navajo language. It's a complex, tonal language with a grammar unlike any other, making it virtually undecipherable to anyone who hasn't grown up speaking it. The U.S. Marine Corps recruited hundreds of Navajo men to become code talkers. They developed a sophisticated code using their native tongues, substituting Navajo words for military terms. For example, the Navajo word for hummingbird meant fighter plane, and iron fish meant submarine. This code was never, ever broken. From Iwo Jima to Okinawa, the code talkers transmitted critical messages on the front lines with speed and accuracy, often under heavy fire. Their unbreakable communication was instrumental in securing key victories and saving countless lives. For security reasons, their work remained classified for decades after the war. These men returned home as heroes, but their most vital contribution remained a secret. Their story is a powerful reminder that sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't a gun, but a voice. Finally, let's journey to the heart of Nazi Germany to meet the members of the White Rose. While most of Germany was swept up in Nazi ideology, a small group of students at the University of Munich chose resistance. Led by siblings Hans and Sophie Scholl, they wrote and distributed a series of anonymous leaflets calling on the German people to awaken their conscience and resist Hitler's regime. In a society ruled by fear and propaganda, this was an act of incredible bravery. They weren't soldiers with weapons. Their weapons were words, truth, and a belief in a better, more humane Germany. They secretly printed and mailed thousands of leaflets, exposing the regime's crimes and urging passive resistance. In 1943, their luck ran out. Hans and Sophie were caught distributing their sixth leaflet at their university. After a swift show trial, they, along with other corps members, were executed. Sophie Scholl's last words were reportedly, "Such a fine, sunny day, and I have to go. What does my death matter if through us thousands of people are awakened and stirred to action?" The White Rose was crushed, but their legacy of intellectual and moral courage endures as a symbol of defiance in the face of tyranny. Witold Pilecki, the WASP pilots, the Navajo code talkers, and the White Rose. These are just for examples among thousands. Their stories are different, taking place in different theaters of the war, fought with different methods. But they are all united by a common thread of extraordinary courage and a commitment to a cause greater than themselves. They remind us that history is not just made by generals on a map, but by ordinary people who choose to do extraordinary things. Their contributions, long hidden in the footnotes of history, are just as vital to our understanding of the war as the famous battles and headlines. They prove that heroism can be found in a secret message, in the cockpit of a ferry plane, in a whispered word, and on a printed page. By remembering them, we honor not just their sacrifice, but the very idea that one person, armed with conviction, can truly make a difference. Thank you so much for watching. If you found these stories as inspiring as I do, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more explorations into the forgotten corners of history. We'll see you next time.